I'm Sasha. I'm the Chief Operating Officer of the Oak Network and the co-founder.
And I'm Gaetan, the CEO and founder of the Oak Network.
And what we do is basically make energy efficiency affordable and accessible to businesses that are both large and small.
In a nutshell, what we're trying to do is we're trying to help businesses get a grip of their consumption, because we realize that energy is a commodity and it's being used as a commodity, and if we don't incentivize when and how it's being used, the energy crisis that we're currently experimenting isn't going to go away.
We describe the problem that Oak is trying to solve with a basic saying, which is you can't manage what you don't monitor. So, energy in general is a massive issue at the moment, but in terms of our need to reduce our energy consumption as a whole, we're trying to do that with little hints and tips here and there without actually having an understanding of what is really contributing to the energy waste that is happening and what to actually do to tackle that. And the first step of actually creating a solution towards that is by actually having a proper understanding of what you're consuming in the first place. And in order to do that, you need to go from having a single data point a month, which is your energy bill, to having one every minute to actually get a long-term and continuous understanding of your consumption, to get real insight into where it's going wrong and what you can do to fix it. Yeah, so what Oak does for businesses, we install hardware on site which allows us to collect the real-time energy consumption data. So we don't just use one specific piece of tech. We can pick and choose for the market to see what's actually the best fit for the customer and for their needs. And we basically collect that data and then run it through our analytics, which is then presented in our online platform as well as through monthly reports. And really what the idea is to basically distill that information as much as possible into clear and actionable recommendations that they can actually understand and action. Because what we don't want to do is just throw a bunch of tables and graphs at the customer and then to wonder, well, that's great, but what do I do about this? So we're really trying to go the extra step to actually just make it as easy as possible to get them to actually act and reduce their consumption.
Your supplier, your energy supplier, they sell you the energy. So the data they're going to give you access to, you have the right to assume that it might be limited into what it can actually do and can actually deliver, simply because the person making this data available to you is wanting to sell you the product. Where Oak really discovered was that there was a real need, a market need, and a real opportunity to bring this in an independent manner to the end user and let them decide. Let them decide whether it makes sense for them or not to waste 30% at night because this device is left on. So what Oak very quickly understood was, as an energy consumer, you're not incentivized to care because of the way the energy is being sold and being given to you. You're not incentivized to care where it comes from, yet you're responsible for the damage and the impact that it's having on the environment. We knew this was our end. I don't just come back to the user saying, you're using too much. I'm pinpointing stuff and saying, this is where I advise you to look deeper, because by looking at this deeper, this is what you can save. And that's a much better way to incentivize the end user to actually do the right thing.
Yeah, so we commercially launched early this year in springtime, and we secured a bar group that had almost 40 sites in it. And after doing a trial in just one of them, they basically saw the results, liked what they saw, and decided to roll it out into the entire group. Finally getting to that stage and kind of getting that real tangible validation of what we're doing is actually working and getting somewhere, felt really good.
When we came to the Imperial Accelerator program, everybody that we met there, we could sense they cared about the problem and they cared about the true cause, not just about the symptom, not just about having a sort of a quick company that could fix the symptom and might die in 2 or 3 years because there's no need for that, but it's something cool, there's a buzzword, there's something worthy of pushing forward. We never felt that here. Here it was, okay, what is the problem? Are you sure the problem you're tackling is big enough? Is there not another thing you can include? Are you sure you're really looking at the root cause of your problem? What are you trying to treat? Are you trying to treat the problem or trying to treat the symptoms? They want you to get at the root cause and be like, okay, if we go for it, how can we make sure that the many benefit and not the few? You can't get it in here if you don't obey by those rules, and that's what we wanted to follow.
30% of our carbon reduction goals globally can be achieved through energy efficiency. And so that's kind of a big kind of impetus towards what we're trying to work towards and, really make that something that actually, happens versus just being a nice statistic that we can look to and not do much about. But on top of that, something that the Oak Network is trying to do is giving energy monitoring and management to businesses is kind of the first step of a longer journey that we see that we're starting on. And what that journey looks like is using the data to use it as a foundation and as a motivator and as a tool to be able to implement more infrastructure upgrades, whether that's batteries, renewables, but to really kind of create an infrastructure which also just helps us transition away from fossil fuels, but also just makes the whole grid operate more efficiently. And so that's where we're kind of looking to a wider scope to kind of move beyond just energy efficiency to really kind of affect the grid as a whole.
The impact that we're having is we really believe, and we're crazy enough to believe, that we can get businesses to net zero way before 2050 using data. So that's an impact. We're not talking about what can we do reduce. No, we're talking going net zero. So it has no limits because we now know that the consumer want more of this product. And what we're also seeing is the ability to, as soon as you get businesses into sort of a competition, a healthy competition, where you say, hey, this is your target, but if you're able to reduce by, let's say, another 10% extra, you'll be able to communicate about it and demonstrate how you are different than the business that's right next to you. Then you start to have competitive business advantage on top of savings. And the only thing that happens is the local community benefits from it because it's a net CO2 reduction at the core by businesses that are around, that communicate, and that empower whoever is around. A revolution you can't stop.